One of the things that I was on an interview that was carried on a station in the Tampa St. Pete area yesterday, and one of the callers came in and was complaining about the fact that the buses that they were running around Pinellas County, every time she saw them, she said, well, they're running around these great big buses and there's nobody on them. Mm-hmm. And I think that's kind of also, I can make a similar comment, here with respect to the transit system here. You see a lot of buses that, there's 2, 3, 4 people on them. And I think, and the perception among taxpayers is why are we funding this thing if nobody's using it? And if somebody's using it, it's generally, the poor, indigenous, or, people that don't have, that's maybe not the word, but people that are of low income, all this kind of thing, that I don't want to ride with them. You've got all these sort of perceptions about what transit is. And of course, then there's the opposite. There's Portland where, everybody uses the transit system there. So what's current state? You're talking with these people. What's the current state of transit here in North America?
Yeah, you pointed out a very interesting question. There are rural systems and others that have at some times of the day very low ridership, and that's I definitely understand the perspective that some would have when they see an empty bus go by. And there are lots of other systems that are jam-packed almost all day. So it definitely varies by region. Overall, though, public transit is enjoying the highest ridership it's had in 60 years' time. There's really been a resurgence of interest in public transit. A lot of the younger generation, millennials, are foregoing car ownership altogether and finding other ways to get around. The advent of the ride-hailing services like Lyft and Uber has really made that a lot more feasible for people. And we're seeing a lot more people actually using public transit because they have a good way to solve that traditional last-mile problem of getting to transit routes. So I think it's changing. Ridership is definitely increasing overall, and certainly some agencies are doing a much better job of attracting riders than others.
All right.
One thing we hear from a lot of transit operators is that a bus like ours that's very clean, it's quiet, it looks modern, it's attracting a different demographic as well, what they call choice riders, which are people who they have a car, they have other ways of getting around, but they actually like taking the bus now because it's very quiet and they know it's not going to be harming their health. So, I think as transit continues to electrify and as transit embraces increasingly other modes of transportation like ride-hailing, I think transit is going to remain quite vital in this country, certainly going forward.
Okay, well, let's talk about the Federal Transit Agency and the low-no awards that were given out, and I guess you guys came away with the lion's share of those, from what I understand. So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, Proterra's customers have been very successful in applying for FTA funding and working on this low-no program. Last year we had 6 transit agencies that were awarded funds. It's a great year last year, and then this year, as you mentioned, we had about 65% of the buses funded under that program were Proterra buses. So I think we've demonstrated to the customer base and to the FTA that the vehicles that we build and have delivered are very reliable. They're a great replacement for diesel buses. And at this point, I would say they are the product of choice for many transit agencies in the market. In this latest round of the FTA money, as you've probably seen, we had a very exciting bit of news. Philadelphia's transit agency has partnered with us on an initial order for them that'll be 25 units, which is one of the largest single purchases of its kind in North America. So we'll be delighted to work with them to deliver those vehicles.
Right, absolutely. So how many buses do you have out in service now at this point?
Yeah, so we've delivered almost 70 vehicles to date. Okay. Over the last several years, those vehicles have already put on over 2 million miles of revenue service.
Okay.
So this is no longer a science fair project or a small demonstration. These are real workhorse vehicles for our customers out there. So we've now sold, I guess we're closing in on about 200 buses, which gives us, if you do the math, a nice backlog of units to build. We've got well over a year and a half's worth of demand in terms of what we can produce out of our Greenville factory, and that's a big part of why we're opening a second manufacturing facility. because we see a tremendous amount of demand for the product coming quickly, and we're paddling fast to get ahead of the wave.
Yeah. Most of that is U.S. customers, I gather.
So we have had a number of repeat customers that have bought now from us in some cases 4 times, but a lot of new interest as well. One of the things that is quite interesting about the customer base is this really is not a coastal phenomenon. A lot of people think that this is California and the Northeast. But we're really proud to have customers all over the country in states like Texas and Kentucky, Florida, Nevada, Minnesota, Massachusetts certainly. But we've now got well over 20 different transit customers that we've partnered with. So the adoption has been quite strong, especially in the last couple of years. The interest in this product, just like we're seeing in the light duty market, what Tesla has done in demonstrating demand for passenger EVs, we're now starting to see it definitely in public transit as well.
Cool. All right. So there was, a few years back, there was a lot of flurry of activity with respect to not only here in the United States, but also over in Europe with fuel cell buses. Ballard playing a significant role in that. Is there any future for that technology in the view of Proterra?
Yeah. Well, I should tell you a bit of historical context here. The first 4 or 5 buses that Proterra built and delivered were all fuel cell buses.
Okay.
So we were very early in the fuel cell business for a variety of reasons. We think that battery electric has a much stronger future. And at this point, we are completely focused on our battery electric program. The range capability of these vehicles is increasing dramatically. The costs are falling so quickly on batteries that I think the case for hydrogen in the public transit space is diminishing really quickly. And at least in our view, the world will go all battery electric, and we think that's the end state for technology in the transit market. We think there are certainly applications for fuel cells. The beauty of all the fuel cell work that's been done is that those vehicles are electric vehicles.
Yeah.
That's not a wasted investment at all. And we do believe there will potentially be some applications where a range extender fuel cell capability may be quite interesting. And we're pleased that battery electric is making the progress that it is. It's driving the efficiencies and driving scale that's going to lower the cost of the electric drivetrains overall. And if hydrogen is to have a future, I think it will be coming in as a supplement to battery electric.
Okay, and of course fuel cell, plug-in, any opportunities there for plug-in technology? Of course there you have to have some type of generator, and that generator it's either going to be a fuel cell or it's going to be some fossil fuel or biofuel of some type.
Yeah. Well, the nice thing about battery electric is, yes, while there are some expenses in putting in the actual charging equipment, electricity is available everywhere on the grid, and generally it's available at high enough rates to charge vehicles of this size. So we really don't have the same kind of challenges as you would have with hydrogen fueling in building very expensive fueling stations that would effectively recreate the petroleum fueling infrastructure that's out there. So from an infrastructure standpoint, battery electric also, I think, does have a really good advantage because there are lots of places to plug in all over the country.
Right. Is there any of you, the agencies you're working with, looking at doing something with respect to solar or wind to charge the batteries rather than just pulling everything directly off the grid?
Yeah, most definitely. We have a lot of customers that have either already put solar in or are planning to do large solar installations. That's one of the beauties of EVs generally. While our fossil fuel sources are getting dirtier and dirtier and more environmentally damaging, our grid mix is increasing dramatically as more and more renewables come online. So our customers are certainly taking things into their own hands when their utilities are moving too slowly in increasing renewable content. But again, even at the national level, we're encouraged with what we're seeing in terms of the grid mix.
Okay. Elon Musk, back to him for a moment. Apparently it was hinting in Norway just recently that they're thinking about doing something with respect to an autonomous electric bus. And so I could see, Musk or a surrogate coming to Proterra and saying, you guys build the bus, we'll supply the battery pack and the robot software for this thing. Is that something that would interest you?
Well, I certainly wouldn't want to comment on the specific case, but generally what I would say is we do believe that autonomous absolutely has a great future in the world of transportation. We think that that buses are one of the most immediate opportunities there. In particular, where bus rapid transit is employed, where the vehicles already have dedicated guideway, it would be a very, very straightforward thing for buses to include that autonomous capability. The real question that will be interesting as transit evolves and as vehicles do become more autonomous, and truly we see the same drivers in the bus sector that we're seeing in automotive with connectivity, autonomy, on-demand capability, and certainly electrification. But we think that that bus transit will be one of the first areas that could go into that field and use more autonomous technology. The big question that I think we'll all get to is, what's the right sort of packet size for the vehicle, right? We believe when you look at the cost per passenger mile, that larger vehicles like a public transit bus are going to have the lowest cost to move people around. So I think for that kind of long haul backbone that's still going to be more flexible than heavy rail, there's a great place for transit vehicles that are larger. And we think, long term, there will be an interesting question between a smaller format bus and a passenger car as to what the right mode will be for those last mile trips.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Talk just briefly about your finances. Any investment opportunities here? How are you guys being funded?
Sure. We're fortunate to have a great group of investors behind the company. We have a number of Silicon Valley venture capital firms like Kleiner Perkins who have invested in us and support us today. But we're also really pleased to have a number of corporate investors. General Motors is a major investor in Proterra, and we've got two large utilities. Constellation is one of those, and Edison is the other. And again, we've got a very large and deep group of investors behind us. So today we're a private company and well supported from our venture investors.
Okay, so any international sales in the offing outside the United States?
Yeah, as a rule, we are very, very focused on the North American market.
Okay.
We've got such a big market opportunity here. We're really focusing on that today. At the same time, we receive requests from cities and countries all over the world that love our technology, view us as the market leader in terms of technology, and are very interested in partnering with us. So we do take a very close look at many of those opportunities. I think it's very likely in the near future we will begin to look at international expansion, but today 100% focused on delivering the best possible transit vehicles to the North American market.
Okay, so how big is that market, do you think? Several thousand, tens of thousands?
Yeah, every year in North America there are about 5,000 transit buses that are sold.
Okay.
By comparison to heavy trucks and other things, it's a relatively small market, but it's a market that's ripe for innovation. And for a company of our size, the fact that there are thousands and thousands of vehicles sold every year is very attractive. We can build a great business serving this market, and it's a market that, as I mentioned, is ripe for innovation. They typically haven't seen a lot of innovation from the vendors in the space, and we're doing our best to bring the very best of EV technology into this market to build outstanding vehicles. And North America alone is a great opportunity. The global market, though, is staggering in terms of the number of buses out there.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Matt, thank you for taking the time. I appreciate
Absolutely.
it.
Very, very happy to.
All right. Good. Keep us posted.
I will do that.
All right. Okay. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Bill. Bye now.